Spy. The cat's behind me. Can't keep up. Alright, the next series in the Elima League is this one. It's EVZ. In the top right, as the red Zerg, it is Leenock on EX1. Is he still on Titan EX1? Yeah, he is. Okay. In the bottom left is the blue Terran just defeating Zest. It's INnoVation. Now up against Leenock, a man who hasn't really reached the glory days of 2012, I want to say. Ooh, 16 cool. Yeah, Leenock was kind of the hot topic after his run through MLG. He had a brief, well, a little bit more than brief, but still, rivalry with Naniwa. He was kind of the king at the time of Baneling drops and Muta usage in ZVT, which is really cool. Some of the best games, I think, with Mutas came from Leenock. And then was dropped short of reaching his destiny, which seemed to be at the time to go to GSL finals, because Jakshi was just some kid who seemed to have lucked his way into the grand finals, and he came out super prepared and super good. Well, that's it. That's history, you know, written right there. But Leenock has come and gone from the almost back to GSL like contender, as in like GSL top 4 contender. Maybe even at times. No, I can't say that. I don't think he's actually ever been back into like he could have made the finals at GSL. But more recently, and more importantly, about a year ago, he said he was going to quit StarCraft, and then he tried GSL again and was like, oh, I'm actually in GSL. Okay, never mind. I'll stay in StarCraft. And that was like a year and a half ago, guys. So never trust a pro gamer when they say they're going to leave StarCraft. They either do to do military service, which, you know, it's got to happen. Sucks, but it has to happen. Or they come back, or they just don't leave at all. That's the two options. So INnoVation does SCV Scout. Unfortunately, still sent the Reaper out to try and catch the Lings and didn't quite realize, I think, that there was 4 Lings already on the way. So the CC is still delayed, and the Lings even get into the main base. Now, this isn't really that much of a problem, but it is a headache you're not supposed to have to deal with. The Reaper it has to micro against the Lings. It can't just sit there and shoot. And the SCVs do not want to be pulled off of mining, and you don't want your build to be scouted, even if it is a typical factory follow-up of the barracks, which it is. But this just revealed that it's kind of an odd position. So either that was INnoVation's attempt to hide from getting the Lings scouted here, and if it didn't see the factory, it'd be like, oh no, what is it? Or it is going to be something even weirder. I think it actually is just more of a blind, or to keep the Zerg in the blind. But Leenock has plans, important plans. What the hell is this? What were you doing, drone? That is a miss rally if I've ever seen one. Oh my lordy. So the Reaper could have dived in there. Ling speed isn't going to be done for another few seconds. That's the typical Ling speed is 330-ish. 320, 315-ish, around there, right? But it decides not to, right? It also didn't actually scout the 3rd hatchery, but even if it did, it's on the way. No, it really needed to scout how many Lings there were. Otherwise, this is incredibly difficult to scout. What are you going to scout? Like, there's 6 less drones? Probably not. So the Reaper misses this scouting opportunity. INnoVation tries to do what he can once he realizes what's going on there, and that's the best he could have done. Is hole up on the ramp with his SCVs covering his Marines, which, by the way, no Hellions, just Marines here. But it has resulted in a lot of losses. Reaper gets taken down, and while this eventually will get cleaned up, this has been an extreme loss. Leenock could have been wrong. He could have read that factory placement as what I was saying, that maybe it's just to throw him off in general. But instead, I guess reading into that actually being a non-Hellion opener. 2 Hellions would have been an absolutely big, like, huge difference. Properly controlled, which we're going to assume INnoVation does properly control his Hellions, against that kind of Ling attack, where it's really not a ton. It does kind of go off of more how fast it is and how much of a surprise it is. But Hellions would have definitely helped. Instead, we had Marines that weren't quite in large enough numbers to help, despite the SCVs helping out too, and that turns very, very awkward. Leenock, pretty happy with that, even gets away with some left over. Now up 14 workers, and now he knows exactly what INnoVation was doing, right? So the follow-up of the tank push on New Repugnancy to try and abuse this cliff. INnoVation's been in, I think, like... I mean, he's not experimenting anymore, right? He's showing it in pro games, but he has been doing some of these weirder timed tank, like abusive tank position pushes, where it's not about having a stim timing or even a specific amount of units. Well, I guess 2 tanks is a specific amount, but he has an attack like this on... not Kairos. Oh, shoot. Some other map that I can't think of right now. But anyways, it's kind of at a weird time. And this is even faster than the attack that I'm trying to think of right now. Where it's only 2 tanks, only a handful of Marines. Well, granted, he lost some Marines. Oh, no. And a bunker to help defend here. But this is a disaster. Leenock, once again, getting Lings in before the wall off is done. INnoVation. It's not that he was really late to build that supply depot. It's that he didn't need it until now, / if he thought Lings were going to come across the map. It's a bit of a gamble. And it didn't work out well. Not at all. The tank will hold the high ground, so that's the great news. And the queens might just be killed here. So maybe INnoVation can really turn things around. He's even dropping on top of the queens. Whatever Marines he has left over. That does not end up going so poorly. Queens can tank a hell of a lot, but their actual damage is quite poor, right? Either against straight up a tank that's being repaired, or even against the Marines that are being healed by medevacs. So that did not go as Leenock was hoping for, but he still finds some solace in the fact that he has torn down the SCV count. He has again messed up INnoVation's build, but he lost a couple queens and he lost straight up the 3rd hatchery. So what is this game actually? What is it? I don't know. Well, Leenock is double expanding. And since he's got the minerals, that makes, go ahead, why not? Prioritizing centrifugal hooks over any upgrades or high ageless tech or spire tech is, I think, absolutely the right call. This medevac, I guess he's question marking because he's already so well defended against the medevac. I guess, I think. Huh? Quite? Okay. He does not know about this 4th base. INnoVation's getting his own 3rd. Well, even though he's a little bit in the dark here, he's feeling still, I guess, pretty safe with 2, actually 3 tanks ready to go. Yeah, I'd feel safe too. Even if these Banelings had centrifugal hooks, oh my god, he's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it. The Banelings do crash in, but I don't even think they would have killed the command center, but I understand that was really, really close, so it's probably better to have went ahead and canceled the command center. Lose 100 minerals instead of potentially losing 400, right? So, was that worth, like, 7 Banelings? 2 supply depots and a canceled command center? Yes, right? Is that a yes? I mean, gas is the hard to come by commodity, right? So you always want to value gas more over than the minerals, but we're not just talking about 300 minerals total lost. We're also talking about like a 20-second, 30-second delay in the 3rd CC. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, what a hard game to call. Anyways, I think that Leenock was already in a tough spot, to be clear here. I think he was already in a tough spot just because of the pretty damn good defensive properties of INnoVation's follow-up, right? So INnoVation gets a 3rd hatchery when maybe Leenock thought he wasn't supposed to, so that was already great for him to do. Even if his own 3rd C was delayed, even if his own SCVs were killed, but then his follow-up against Baneling floods was pretty damn good too, so he was feeling safer, I think, than Leenock would ever could. So I already thought INnoVation was doing better. I'm just thinking about like that direct trade, which again, we're having that Baneling bust, but this is an actual Baneling bust. There's something to defend, not enough to defend, so the SCs are going to have to be pulled. Behind a tank, it's going to take a little while to clean up these Lings, but we have 2 attacks from INnoVation, one getting that 3rd base again. Another one kind of light on those Marines, but 4 tanks is hard to beat. 2 of them get taken down, 3 of them get taken down, 4 of them get taken down. Lordy, those last 2 Lings were ballers. They were heroes. But 2 more tanks still here and a decent number of Marines. Medevac gets sniped. Good use of the queens, good use of the queens. All right. Combat shields will be finishing up here soon. It's a fairly quick upgrade. The supply divas might have gone down and 10 SCVs might have gone down, but the 3rd CC lives this time. So that puts Leenock on 3 bases, up 10 workers. But against a Terran that's also on 3 bases, 10 workers really isn't that much with 3 orbitals. Leenock still has some work to do here. He's gonna go for another run by, and there's just not even an attempt to re-wall at this point. So a couple SCVs will go down, perhaps. This will not be as worth it, I don't think. Yeah, not... Out of all the run-bys today, this maybe has been the least worth. Upgrades are done for Leenock. I mean, he did manage to fit 1-1 in there at some point. He was getting Burrow previously and then canceled maybe to emergency build Banelings or build Hydras as priority. Something along those lines. Like, I swear I'm not crazy. He was getting Burrow before. But he's getting Burrow again, and I mentioned what Leenock was known for in the past, and I kind of forgot. I mean, I'm thinking more of the Baneling drops, because I was pretty much I was not a hater, not gonna lie. I was not a fan of his. So I remember him being Baneling bombs, but Leenock also had really baller burrowed Banelings. Those type of Baneling bombs, right? So he's gonna try to bring it in here again, and they're useful for comeback situations, not just because, for obvious reasons, they can kill 20 Marines in one go, but also if your creep spread isn't really that far out, then you're gonna have a lot of opportunities to plant them in places without being scanned. So it's that, you know, it's obviously not great creep spread isn't far out, but there's like a way to abuse it. There's a way to use it at least. This one Marine has high hopes. He's got dreams. Speaking of creep spread, it is currently being denied. Leenock was very intent on trying to get those two creep tumors down, and INnoVation just simply slapped those away. But maybe now, as I said, right? No creep spread, no scan. Maybe now. But it's a weird situation though, where like you're still on the edge of creep, so you're probably still gonna be in a concave. It's not gonna be the juiciest Baneling hits we've ever seen. Ling run back to the third base is going to cause some mild panic, but not actually get any damage done. Oh, no! No! That actually kind of looked like a good one. That was pretty good. Okay, hold on. 39 Marines. Ooh, it was this big old clump. Oh, not bad. Oh, my lordy. 20 Marines go down there. Opening up the floodgates. Leenock runs in here with the rest of his units, but you know what? Are there too many tanks? Yeah, there are too many tanks. There wasn't a lot of lings to accommodate that, so they weren't jumping on top of the tanks and getting that damage done or sniping some of the low ones. Banelings are rolling in off creep slowly into a bunch of bio. Well, not a bunch of bio, but still any amount of bio. And the Hydras couldn't quite rip through fast enough to be worth it, so 3 tanks still alive with bio being rallied forward here. Now another run by to try and at least stop the flood of reinforcements is always a good idea. And they do have 2-2 upgrades against only 1-1, so it is going to be worthwhile. But I don't think Leenock can hold on. A lot of supplier and Hydras, which unprotected really are not a big deal. Not against Bio with Medivacs. Lings are finally all cleaned up here. Very, very scrappy back and forth game, but Leenock has been on the back foot for a lot more of it. Oh, Burrow's on the hatch that got killed. Oh, okay. Thank you, Gorilla. That does suck. I mean, whether it was intentional or not, right? Like, however long in the advance it could have maybe been his Baneling bombs being down here, right? An even juicier hit. Instead, they were very defensive, and once you've shown Baneling bombs, you're not really getting another opportunity to use them. Not if you're being contained, anyways. Now, this concave is not so bad for Leenock, who even pulls the drones into this. Again, no Lings to really provide that fodder. And I guess the Hydras will be enough. Here come more Lings. The Queen's even getting involved. He pulls back the drones at a pretty perfect time, so he only loses 3 of them, and that is a hold. He holds again. The Hydra count in a concave was pretty decent. I think that concave part of the sentence was the most important thing, but then also the drone pool was exactly like you want to use drone pools. It's one of those things that I get a little tilted by, you know? It's hard to ever really criticize pro gamers because there's a billion things going on and they probably are doing the right thing at the right time. But one of those things I'm very keen on noticing is that when they pull SCVs in some situations, either it's laughable and it's already over and like who cares, right? Or it's like they pull into it when they need it and then they don't pull back at any point. When I watched and I'm like, oh, but you could have saved like 5 SCVs and still held. So kudos on Leenock for that hold for multiple reasons. The 2-2 is about to finish up for INnoVation, so he's always been down in upgrades, and that has contributed quite a bit. These Ling run buys have been more effective than they really should. And even when it came to killing tanks, right, they've been more effective than you would maybe think if you had only one melee upgrade, or, you know, God forbid you had only had 0. But the bio has also been outgunned by them. Now that will change. Leenock had to hold off on his Hydra upgrades for so long. At least those are finishing up now too as well. And we're gonna have to talk about Burrowed Baneling bombs again. If Leenock can get the time to breathe here, he's trying to give himself time to breathe. He needs to build Banelings, and then he also needs to get them out on the map to utilize Burrowed Banelings. But INnoVation's not giving him that time, and this push now 30 supply up as opposed to maybe the 10 or 20 it was before. It's denser as well, so he's not depending as much on his high tank count as much as his Marauders, right? They're gonna soak up those Banelings, but they're also going to soak up those Hydra shots, and there's so many medevacs that in combination here, they're gonna do really quite well against the Hydras. The Banelings get some connections, but not really great ones. The Hydras are moved in here desperately, frantically. Lings finally pop out, but they're too late to the party. Wait, what? When did 29 SCVs die? Oh, that's why. Okay, but that is like 12, 15 Banelings or whatever that weren't here to help out, so that's a trade-off there. 30 SCVs go down, but Leenock loses his entire army. What a hard-fought game, though. Damn. Leenock does do pretty well in scrappy situations, but this wasn't scrappy enough. I mean, it was a weird game from the get-go for both of them. These Lings are not doing so bad against Marauders. This game is over, though. INnoVation now quadrupling the arm supply of Leenock. And there's the tap out. GG! INnoVation takes game number 1 in a very weird game with a weirder opener that Leenock actually read quite accurately, as far as I can tell, right? Like, there's always that weird, like, well, maybe he just got lucky. He decided to do a Ling attack and then was surprised there weren't any Hellions, but it seemed like he did read that factory being back there as, okay, you're going to do one of those tank pushes you've been doing, and you're not going to have a lot of units to defend against Ling. And that seems like such a great start for our Zerg, and yet the positioning of the tanks on that map, the choice to do another Ling run by? Question marks. Burrow is a great upgrade, and it's not abused, I think, nearly enough. And not just in the whole, like, oh, that's my favorite thing to see is Burrowed Baneling bombs. No, I mean, like, legitimately, I think it should be abused more. For 100, I'm kind of surprised it's not put into every game post 12 minutes, 12, 13 minutes. Obviously, there's reasons not to get that upgrade or the overload speed upgrade earlier on in the game. And pro gamers will tell you a billion different reasons why they're not quite worth it, but I think after a certain point, Burrow, always worth it. Not just for, you know, the Banelings, but burrowing against expansions. And then I actually faced a guy who did this, and it was like strong kudos to that guy. I mean, it was Masters 2 at the time or whatever, but still. But he planted a burrowed Ling every single attack path, and it was so annoying. And he also burrowed them on like the edges. And to be clear, burrowed Lings don't see a lot. They're like building buildings. They don't see a lot outside of their immediate vision. But if you put them on the attack paths, or you put them on the edge of the map, and one Ling is 25 minerals, right? Like, it's really annoying. Anyways, the top left, not able to bring that game back. It is the red Zerg, Leenock. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, it's INnoVation. Phoenix, come in, just burrow all your drones. Yeah, totally. Yeah, another property, defensive property of Burrow. For, you know, against Terrans, I can see why they're like, oh, it's not worth it because they just scan anyways. We're talking about, again, pretty late game. But Protoss rarely have any detection that forward, right? So, I don't know. It feels like it's one of those things that it's a ticking time bomb. It's like eventually, if the game is like Brood War and goes 20 years, it's already at 9, then we're going to see someone bring Burrow into the forefront and maybe even make it an issue. But I say that, and Brood War literally had Burrow, and it didn't become an issue, so maybe I'm really overreaching here. Yes, I mean, Scan's expensive, but that late in the game, because whenever we do see big, like, decent drops, I should say, after 13, 14 minutes, they're probably not too worried about scanning instead of muling. Anyways. Anywho. There's still so many things left to learn, left to develop in StarCraft 2, just as like in Brood War. There have been recent developments. 20 years strong in Brood War. I mean, hell, I didn't even really get... We think about... If you guys have ever tried to watch very old Brood War, like so Brood War what came out in 1998. If you watch 2003 Brood War, so that's 5 years into it, it looks kind of stupid. You start watching 2008 Brood War, and actually I think it's mostly refined by then, right? That's like when beasts started to come up and stuff like that. But even still, you compare that to what you saw in 2013 towards the end, quote unquote, of Brood War's, whatever you want to call it, heyday or whatever. And it was still so different. And then, as little as I know, I have heard / seen that, again, Brood War has changed drastically between that time and today's time. So imagine where StarCraft 2 is going to be in 5 years. I think Leenock is poking fun at INnoVation for not throwing a grenade with that Reaper. Or no, he also is over it, actually. Okay. I was like, what is he question marking? Okay, so the Cyclone here is a surprise, and I don't disagree, it is a surprise. So INnoVation does another kind of weird build here. Looks like he did spend time on that tech lab to build the Cyclone, but then went back into producing Hellions, but then goes back into a tech lab on the factory and also adds something to the starport. What the hell is going on? I mean, he's gonna wish that he produced something but Hellions. 4 Hellions is not a safe number, I would say, against the amount of Lings that Leenock is building right now. Like, in perfect control lands, where nothing ever goes wrong, I suppose, with the Terran, then yeah, it's enough, but that's, like, kind of scary. And Leenock's building more. So Leenock's probably expecting 2 factories, is what I'm guessing here. So he saw or was it Marine that killed it? Actually, hold on. Well, if he saw the Cyclone, then he might be thinking it's Cyclone Hellion. He might be, like, overreacting to this. But as soon as he realizes that it's not an attack towards the front... Okay, he loses 9 drones here. 10 drones. Oof. As soon as he realizes it's not going to be a direct attack, he could just, yeah, run by or counter Baneling all in, which is what I thought I was going to do in the first place. In which I'm still kind of suspicious that was his plan. I mean, he stopped building workers so early on. This had to have been his plan from the get-go. So I'm back on the whole INnoVation's going to want to... He's going to wish he had not stopped building Hellions. Because Hellions aren't even going to be able to help out here. So a tank is beautiful. A tank's wonderful for this. But it's not quite enough. Imagine if there were 6 Hellions right now trying to take care of this. INnoVation tried to build a double wall and it almost worked out, but he is going to lose control of his natural. There's not enough Marines quite yet to take care of this. He is producing 3 barracks at a time, plus that factory, so we eventually hold on to his natural. And 19 workers, considering the amount of damage he just did to Leenock, and how much Leenock was already not building drones, there is still a game left to be played. He saves 3 command centers, 3 orbitals actually. Stim's almost done. His production is almost, I mean, it's already quite set up here, at least 3 barracks. I would actually a lot of the time say that wasn't enough by Leenock. But we'll see. You know, he's still containing INnoVation, which I think is like the really big problem here. He didn't just throw literally everything and let everything explode. Let everything die. Now he's still continuing innovation, so maybe in some other all-in, some other circumstances, these Lings are already back home trying to run away. They've delayed the command centers for an extra 15, 20 seconds. Still even delaying this one. Still threatening these ones. Like, this is good stuff. It's an important little additions to what could easily have been him just running away immediately. So he's delayed it. He's saved these number of Lings. He doesn't have to remake those Lings in case there are Hellions out in the map, or will soon be drops out in the map. And yeah, now he has to worry about those drops. That's kind of the next thing on the list. The starport's already done, right? But INnoVation is not quite up there on the gas yet. So after all, he's been denied his natural for so long. So to produce his upgrades, plus a tank at a time, plus medevacs, he has to give up something. So there is no aggression coming on Leenock's side of the map. And he could maybe even have been greedier if he had like known this like 100%, but that would be hard to read into. So the layer's coming down now. He obviously delayed that for what he did. Still no fourth base, but at 56 drones, decent number of Lings, and some decent creep spread as well. This isn't off the back of like a lot of queens, it's just been off the back of not being harassed. Leenock should be okay here. I do really like that INnoVation grabs the natural and then basically immediately goes into the third base. Now is kind of a weird time to be hesitant for either party. They're both a little in the dark of what their opponent could be doing. But if he had stayed on 2 base and kind of like turtle up here, then he just falls farther behind. So he's found himself down 20 workers, just about. With 3rd CC on location, though, and now producing 3 SCVs at a time. So he should catch up pretty quickly. Medevacs are finally out, but Leenock went right into Burrow. And he has had the map control here, so he's placed those Banelings offensively on basically the only attack path you really use on Cyber Force. I mean, this is the obvious one. And because it is so early, I don't think INnoVation will even think about scanning, despite having to deal with Burrowed Banelings last game. Never counted a Terran with 3 CCs, though. That's the thing. You know, that's the saying, but the other saying for me is never, oh my god, Leenock is so cool. Oh, he's so cool. Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyways, I was going to say, kind of like to this point, that it's 3 CCs plus drops. Drops are where the Terrans always come back in. And Leenock just like cut that drop literally in half and then some. This Ling Flood catches tanks unguarded by Marines since the Marine production wasn't very high, and that is literally it. Game over. Leenock takes the second game. Spicy. Very spicy. Some pretty cool games. TVZ is always fun, isn't it? Yeah. There's like so many cool things that could be going on in that game. Obviously, the coolest thing was the Burrowed Banelings defending against the Marines, but he was clearly going to defend against the Marines no matter what. And it was also like, as I was saying, that the drops are so much even more important than just having 3 CCs producing and dropping mules. The drops are usually more important. They keep the Zerg player from not just getting like a temporary drone lead, but then really like over expanding and over droning and over creep spreading. Like they actually keep the Zerg in check. So it's kind of the natural thing to follow up with. Now, whether you immediately follow up with 2 medevacs or you wait a little while like INnoVation did, the point is you immediately follow up with it, or eventually follow up with it. And if you're following up with 16 Marines, sometimes 32 Marines, you go, like every Marine goes into a medevac and gets sent off because there's such desperation modes to get damage done, then a huge Ling swell is going to be able to break their natural on 3rd, right? So I don't know if that's what Leenock was thinking, if he was thinking that far in the future, if he knew if he was fucking like 40 chess here, or if it just worked out that way. But either way, it was pretty cool. Good night, Borsty. The last map will be on Kairos Junction. It used to be that this map was the most abusable for those kind of like weirder time tank pushes from the Terran. But now it really isn't. The Zergs have gotten so good at preempting it, right? In the bottom right, as the red Terran, it is INnoVation. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Leenock. Yeah. You know, this used to be kind of like a tricky spot. It was, I don't remember if this was in the map test tournament, but either way, in some of the initial playtesting of this map, the time it was on ladder, some of the pro games that coincidentally lined up with the new ladder release. Yeah, this was abused pretty heavily. The rocks wouldn't be broken down, and you know, a simple 2 tank push with not a ton of support would cause the Zerg to be confused and die. Now it's not really a problem. I think first we had Zergs actually push creep spread over here the most that they could, or maybe before they're being like a little lazy about it. So then, you know, these tank pushes would come when the creep spread's out here, and you're like, well, that's not as effective. They also are pretty good about tearing down these rocks. So Kairos went from being one of the like deadlier potential early tank push or just tank push in general maps to being quite balanced, and I don't even see many of those win. Now we kind of have another issue where maybe there's some nice spots up here on the tank side, right, high ground to this 4th base, but you can see that map designers have been really good about not giving any abusable tank positions for the most part that hit hatcheries or nexus or whatever. For the most part. Watch game number 1 again, and that's obviously not the case, but I think even on the, like this specifically, for instance, this would, in a 2012 map, would not have so much of this junk, and it would be able to hit the mineral lines, SCVs. Now it can't. Tanks cannot. But anyways, back to the actual game at hand. Leenock once again with the early pool. 6 Lings coming out here, and no SCV Scott for INnoVation means that he is going to have his command center bopped. No follow-up Marine either to even try and buy time. With 6 Lings on a full surround on the command center, yeah, it can absolutely kill it. If the Reaper is anywhere close to home, then you probably try and save it. But if the Reaper really does just go all the way across the map and you have no idea this is on the way, 6 Lings is enough to get the cancel. Not just because you're afraid of any other follow-up. Uh-oh. Oh, it's a body depot. Oh, but it's a body depot. Oh no. Oh no, it's a body depot! But also because 6 Lings with the damage is not bad. This is bad. This is the worst case scenario from an early pool that doesn't invest much, right? There's the early pools that also come with like an early gas, and you're following with like speed, and it's, you know, obviously going to want to do something. It kind of has to cancel the command center. And then there's the early pools with 2 Lings that are like really aren't committed to. And then there's this, 6 Lings. Still not a heck of a lot of committal, but it gets a cancel on the command center. It gets a whole fresh supply depot, right? 100 minerals down the drain, and it gets a reactor. That's 50-50. Plus, reactors are stupidly long in building time. So huge gains there from our Zerg player for 6 measly Lings, and a bit of a cut into their economy. Oh my god, the timing on these Lings are so perfect! Not that one Reaper and 1 Helen were that dangerous, but still. That was like the Ultralisk popping out of the egg in the carbon animation. INnoVation's still, you know, pro, so he did immediately slap down the command center once he realized what was going on. He didn't really play around with the whole, like, maybe I can save it, maybe I can do it. So that will be done without having to build a 3rd supply depot. Yeah. If you cancel your command center, most of the time you're going to be supply blocked when you shouldn't, right? When your command center is supposed to be done. So always keep in mind to build a 3rd supply depot. In this case, it was so quick, he didn't really have to.
Thank you for your money.
So now just building them for the Hellions, as he is producing Hellions and a medevac and an armory. He wants to be spicy back, but placing the armory perhaps in the worst possible position. Viking, do it! Viking, go! Viking, go! Viking, no! Viking! Didn't do your job. Although, arguably, INnoVation could have picked a safer place with that armory. So there's that. So Leenock now knows about the Hellbat attack, and I don't know if INnoVation knows. It's one of those things that he's probably gambling on if we see him go through with it. He's like, God, I hope I didn't, but I think it did. Woo, thank you very much to Booba for the 10 buccarinos. No comment, but thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So he's still gonna do the Hellbat attack. Now again, I'm still on the side of like he's kind of hoping that the armory wasn't scouted. He doesn't quite know. But unfortunately it was scouted, and he will have to try and do as much damage as possible to someone who is pretty damn well prepared for it. Now you still get Banelings made. You still get Banelings used, and they are suicidal, so its resources lost. And INnoVation does save a lot of those units, so you know what? All things considered, that wasn't so bad. The Queens also came back. They saved up Transfuse. A Spine Crawler was made. There are ripple effects to still doing that Hellbat attack, even though it wasn't going to be a complete surprise. So I'm gonna say that was pretty worth it. The Queens now get back on inject duty and creeps spreading duty. But still, a significant amount of time. Wow, following up with another attack. I mean, it is pretty rare for Zergs to follow up dealing with a Hellbat attack with more Banelings. They're far busier building drones or something, but... Okay, that makes sense. So... this is a little weird, but I think it does make sense, right? It's just a little weird because the Hellbats, if he wasn't already ready to tap out, they would have been split, and he would have still had like 6 Hellbats and Marines, kind of, to at least chase the drones. And the Liberator was going to do damage, but his 3rd CC was heavily delayed because he followed up with more Hellions, and he didn't have any anti-air. Could you argue he could have bought more time and you know, built an armory or an engineering bay and defended? I guess, but he would have been doing it against a Zerg player that was probably still around 50 drones at least, 3 bases, and he would have had to turtle for a very long time. So it makes sense. He gambled, wasn't expecting the fast transition to mutas, and worked out.